All right, folks, and welcome back to another fantastic edition of Opali Presents Know Your Pros. And today's guests, we are joined by Jeff and Rosandra of the HR firm, Your Full Service Human Resources Company. Now, they are not a temp agency. They sure as heck are not a payroll provider or a third-party admin. They are your effective, hands-on and experienced problem solvers, the HR firm. Jeff, Rosandra, thank you so much for joining us today on Know Your Pros.
Well, thank you for having
Yeah,
us.
thank you, Henry.
I'm excited to talk to you both. And to be quite frank, I don't know a lot of folks who might tell you that they are excited to talk to a human resources firm, but I really couldn't get enough of the experience that I've had with each of you already. You're both such kind individuals and you run a really tight ship at your business, which is why I said, hey, I got to have these folks as guests. So before we get into the difference of the HR firm, what's different about you guys? I want to get that origin story. And Rosandra, I know you've got a great one for us here. So why was it that all these years ago, you decided to start the HR firm?
Wow. Well, thank you for asking that because not many people know that the HR firm was actually a result of a bad breakup. And a bad breakup means I was going through a divorce. I had been married to somebody who was in law enforcement, and what this person did was basically go to everywhere I was and made sure I got fired. It was just such a horrible situation that I really didn't have much to do, but I still needed to be in town just long enough to be divorced. And my parents were not here in town. They had retired. They were in Guatemala. And dad would call every day. And he would basically ask me the same question every single day. What do you want to do? And I would say the same answer. I don't know. So let's just assume this happened for about a month. I was absolutely seething waiting for this phone call because not only did he ask me the same question, he would hang up on me when I didn't tell him an answer. So when he called, I picked up the phone and it was mom. And I just let her have it. I said, Mom, you have no idea what dad's been doing. It really hurts my feelings. I can't believe this is happening. And in her very dainty, nice voice, she simply said, She's ready. And dad came on the phone and he said, All right, so what do you want to do? And I think for the very first time, I finally just said, I don't know, but why don't you just tell me what you want me to do? And he said to me, Rosandra, I thought by now you'd be done with having a man tell you what to do. So why don't you tell me what you want to do and how you want to do it? And it clicked. It clicked completely. Yes, I was going through a breakup, and we've all had those breakups, but it didn't define me. It didn't change who I was, who I would become, and the education I already had. The experience was there. And so I said, I think I could do HR. I could do this on my own. Obviously, I couldn't go work for someone because, he would follow me there. So I was only supposed to have one or two jobs as an independent contractor long enough for me to get divorced. But it took 4 years. And by the time I was divorced, I had launched a company and I was part of this community. And Ventura has been nothing but supportive and welcoming. And that was where we were born.
It's such an incredible story because your story that's full of this heartbreak is similar to kind of the heartbreak that some businesses get when
Mhm.
they hire employees and vice versa with employees dealing with businesses. And Jeff is always so fantastic at reminding me and some of the folks in our networking chapter that if you have employees, you have issues. And issues aren't fun to deal with, but they are exceedingly easier to do so if you're facing it head on, being communicative and addressing it, full face. And I guess I wonder why anybody would want to go into a business like that. My second question is always why your industry. So Jeff, Rosandra, like why HR? Like what is so attractive about that for you two?
Well, for me, when I launched this company, it was about doing what really filled my cup, helping people. what better way to help them than to show them how to keep their job, show them how to be promoted, giving them really good news. That's what I thought it was going to be, but unfortunately, most of what I did early on was terminate people, which was completely the opposite. What filled my cup there was when I looked at a lot of the people I was terminating, they weren't happy. They weren't happy at what they were doing, and what they really needed was for somebody to say, "I know you're not happy, but let's get you to where you wanna go." So, it in essence, if you've ever seen that movie Up in the Air by George with George Clooney,
Mm.
that was me. I was literally hired to come in and terminate people. And what really surprised a lot of my clients was that at the end of all that, people were happy leaving and they were not disgruntled. And most important, I was able to show them that you didn't have to be humiliated to end a relationship. And isn't that like the best thing ever to know that you could end as friends and you go on both your own way? Um, but when it comes to employment, we never kind of deal with it that way. We always think about it as it's not working. Here's your check, get out of here, give me your keys, and it is what it is. Let me walk you out. The way I handled terminations was so unlike what was being done at that time that my clients decided that they wanted to see how else I did HR. So it was being about proactive, doing what people were not doing, what was not the norm. I knew how bad it was to be broken up with and not know why. So I tell you why when I terminate you. This is what you did. Had you not done that, we may not have had this conversation. I also know how bad it feels, how scared most people are when they think, what do I do now? So I get them to look at their future. I get them to kind of think about what they could be doing, not what they were doing. And that really helps out a lot. And when it comes to HR, we handle things proactively. So I like to make sure people look at their jobs not as jobs, but as careers. What's the next step? You go through this whole thing of finding people and you spend a lot of money recruiting and a lot of money in getting people to join your company. Why not do the same to keep them?
It's so incredible to remind yourself, especially through, the modicum that you guys, are experts in that, you learn exactly nothing from, only seeing success or brushing off some of those issues that might be glaring you right in the face. It's about
Hmm.
action and failing, to move forward, which is going to be where you learn the most.
Hmm.
I love what you said there about careers and, seeing it that way. Um, I want to twist it back to here, how you guys are all about maximizing that workforce to reach a company's goals and helping, businesses um, not only recognize their failures, but give them a means to move forward and do it in a positive way. And preventing some of those big issues that might rear their ugly head if they're not addressed directly. Which leads me into the question of, hey, why should somebody come work with you guys? If you've got employees, whether it's one, 5, 10, 50, or 100, why should somebody consider the HR firm over some other agency that they might have had experience with in the past?
Well, probably the biggest reason why is because they get Rosandra. With her experience and her knowledge, I mean, she is really good at what she does. She's highly respected in the industry. But, besides that, when people say they're boots on the ground, we truly are a boots on the ground company. If you need us, we're there for you. And it doesn't matter what time or day, we will be there. We actually thought we could take a vacation to Hawaii 2 years ago, and I'd say we worked probably half the day from Hawaii with our clients on issues or challenges they were having. But they all knew we were there, but we were still there virtually to help them work through problems that we could help them with when we got back. But that's the biggest thing that separates us from everybody else.
Well, also don't forget that while we were there, the hotel where we were figured out we did HR And so they wanted us to have a safety meeting, kind of like COVID protocol meeting. So we ended up putting on seminars while we were on vacation. So I've told Jeff from now on, we tell people I'm a flight attendant and he's like a vet of some sort, just so that we don't have to work through vacation.
Yeah. And
Uh,
the other thing that separates us is that um, we are bilingual in Spanish, and that segment of the business community is so underserved. And we do a lot of work in that community to help them get the professional help that they really, really need.
well, and Rosandra was pointing out too that, in Ventura County especially, there are so many underserved communities that really benefit from, helping themselves by
Mhm.
understanding, some of the things that you guys champion at your company, at the HR firm.
Mhm.
It's so important to recognize that if you're an employer and understand what, your rights are as an employee too.
Mhm.
But ultimately, what we want at the end of the day, we want to keep folks compliant because
Mhm.
at the end of the day, it's better for everybody. I mean, that's
Right.
the bottom line.
Right. And, when you say cultural, we have to remember that we have a lot of niches throughout. It's not just Ventura County, it's everywhere. You have populations where people just naturally gather and they do things the way they would in their homeland. And that's not wrong, but they forget, or maybe they don't know, that California standards still apply to them, regardless if they don't think it does. And California is one of the hardest places to have employees in, to the point where, yeah, we could go anywhere and we pretty much pick up clients because they kind of go, "Oh my goodness, you're in HR, here, help me." So, I'm a flight attendant when I'm on vacation.
Well, I'm glad to know that the HR firm is here in Ventura County because, if you need somebody who is boots on the ground, who's effective, who's got that hands-on experience, these two problem solvers right here, Jeff and Rosandra, are the folks that you want to call first. And Jeff, I want to let you plug the business before we wrap this thing up. Tell folks out there who might be watching this, who might need some HR services, where they can find you.
Sure, if they want to get in touch with us, they could go to our website. It's www.thehrfirm.com. We're really original in that. Um, or they could reach us by phone. The phone number is 805-853-3476.
Right, and you guys service businesses throughout the county. I imagine throughout the state. Do you do any business outside of the state as well, or no?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. At one point we were in 13 other states. We do have international clients as well. We have clients in China, Canada, Mexico, Guatemala. And really, like I said, it's because we've been able to just take what I consider the way that I want to be treated to the way we treat employees. So that seems to be the niche that people are looking for.
Mm, that's powerful. It's got an international impact, it seems. Jeff, Rosandra, thank you so much for taking all this time to join me here on Know Your Pros. Your story is impactful. It's something that most people just completely overlook, and it's important that everybody knows who to call when they're ready, and if they've got employees, right, they've got issues. So let's call up the HR firm
That's
here.
right.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks,
both.
Henry.
Know your